everyone, IntuitiveEdge here. Welcome to my channel. It's time to take a look at our year ahead for 2022. Let's talk about January. So we're already about a week into this month, but what do we have going on this month? We're starting off the year with the Page of Cups crossed by the Knight of Swords. To me, this signifies that there is some kind of energy that is a little bit underhanded or subversive. And it's really got a lot of desperation in wanting to move forward. I feel like just a desperate desire to control things. So I think there's an aspect of society that is seeking further control over the rest of society, but it's running into a roadblock or some kind of stagnation. There's a lot of energy with it, but come February, the energy is like pushing back. It's got the Knight of Pentacles, and it's facing right back into that Page of Cups. So that funny energy, wanting to control things, is running into a roadblock. February is going to feel a little more out of balance, maybe. It's going to feel like there's too much going on to control. So there's this grasp or desire to grasp control, and then heading headlong into the inability to take that control that is being sought. Okay. And the control feels to me like it's coming from a negative place. So I would think these are control types wanting to control segments of society. Okay. Now, March, we have the Devil card crossed by the Knight of Wands. So that Devil card is subversive, seeking power and control through manipulation, any type of means that uses bondage or addiction or anything like that. And it's got that Knight of Wands on it. So there's a message about taking action. So this seems like there is a dark force that is wanting to take control, probably maybe on the world stage. But it feels like it's stemming from something stirring up in February. Now, February, March, there's just this energy of two sides clashing and stagnation and not being able to break through. And maybe that's a good thing, because maybe it's the dark forces that aren't able to pull through, but it's not that they won't try. And I just sense two sides really coming at a head, like a juggernaut here. And we've got that Knight of Swords in January pushing into the Knight of Pentacles and then the Knight of Wands. There's going to be a lot going on the first 3 months of this year in terms of power structure, power and control, manipulation, using any kind of means available. This isn't going to be probably a very nice time, because this energy of domination, that's what I'm getting. A domination energy that's really like throwing all the stops out and pulling all the stops, I should say. And that's what I'm sensing for the first 3 months. It's going to be tense. I sense some tension. I sense some issues possibly with weather, possibly manipulation of weather, so be aware of that. However, April brings a different energy. Okay, there's a lot of turmoil, that's the word I'm going to use, for January, February, March, and kind of culminating in March. And April, we couldn't get a more contrast for the month of April. We have the Seven of Wands crossed by the Fool. That is a very different energy than that Devil using the Knight of Wands to meet his ends. So the Seven of Wands is a card of getting the upper hand. It's still a card of conflict, but it's like that Fool card underneath is like taking a chance. And something good about to happen with that Seven of Wands getting the upper hand in April. So huge contrast between March and April. But up until March, just be prepared for a lot of tension as this great cosmic battle, I don't know what else to call it, but it's going to play out. And there's going to be, the more you see the dark side, if they appear to be winning, it's simply because they're desperate. So see those times, if it feels like the darkness is winning, it's the darkness showing how desperate it is. Because there's a turnaround coming in April. Okay, it's going to shift somehow. There's light coming in with April, and there could be another precipice coming for humanity. We've been pushed to the brink many times over the last year and a half, 2 years going now, and so this is like being pushed to the brink again. But it's going to change. It's going to shift. It's going to shift us out of that power structure, and it's like the devil's going to lose the grasp. Okay, I've got that devil card there, and his grasp is losing. You're losing. Okay. May brings an energy of moving on, having to change. Now we've got the change card, the Eight of Cups, and it's crossed by the Knight of Cups. So the Eight of Cups is kind of a sad card, having to move on from something, having to contend with change that maybe was unwanted. And the Knight is signaling a message about that. So we've just come through a really difficult, I think, first quarter. And moving into the second quarter of the year, there's a shift or a change in a better direction, but there is some sadness with it in having to move in a new direction. It's going to turn out better, I think, but it may entail having to give up some things or just recognize that the future isn't going to look anything like the past. Where we're moving isn't going to look anything like where we've been. So that's kind of the shift or the change coming, okay? June, we have the King of Cups crossed by the Hermit. So we've got the King of Cups, mastery over emotions and feelings, and that Hermit, the card of introspection and going within. I get the sense with May and June, it's almost as though there's an energy of introspection and having to move on, difficult change. The future's not going to look anything like the past. Almost like we're in uncharted waters, a little bit of uncharted territory. And I think a lot of us are going to be having to dig down deep and be as resourceful as we can within ourselves, mustering our own personal courage, our own personal strength, staying above the fray, staying mentally sharp. It's going to take a lot of courage, I think, to move into the few months after this kind of chaotic time and transition. That's what it is. It's a huge transition from chaos into a new way of thinking, a new way of being, and a new way of living. And it's going to feel like how do we do this? What do we do? What's a good way to move forward when maybe we haven't had to exercise those muscles before? Let's see how I can explain this. It's like if you're thrown into a situation and you've never done it before, you kind of either like sink or swim. You learn by immersion, you learn by doing. That's kind of how it's going to feel for some. Is I've never done this before, but I'm being asked to take on a higher mind, a higher principle, come from a place of courage, personal strength. And most of us have those things within us, but you might be called on to really dig down deep in those places and use strengths that you didn't know you had. It's kind of good in some ways because you learn about yourself and what you're capable of when you're put into situations where you have to think on your feet and you have to be resourceful. So that's going to be the challenge coming in to the early part of the summer, late part of the spring, early summer. Okay. Centering this year is going to center around struggle. Okay. Now, struggle is what we make of it. Some people use struggle to get stronger, to better themselves, and to learn strengths they didn't have. Some people buckle under the pressure. It all depends on how you handle it. But we are going to see some struggle this year. Now, struggle can be good, like I mentioned. So it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's going to be a struggle. And some people breeze through struggle no problem. Other people crumble. So I guess it's up to you how you handle stress or struggle. Okay? And whether or not you see it as a bad thing or a good thing. Just as a sidebar, in the year 2020, a lot of people were crumbling. It was terrible. And again, it was a really tough year for just about everyone. However, there were certain people who had a pretty good year, despite all of the chaos. I mean, I had a friend who had a baby in 2020. That was a blessing. Because of the lockdown, she and her husband were able to spend more time together. They were fairly newly married, so, they hadn't really had a chance to really get to know each other that well. And when you're locked up, it's like, well, you get to know each other pretty well. And she said, we had a pretty good year. We bought a house. We had a baby. It's like, she said, I had a pretty good year. So, yeah, things might be struggling around us, but some people may not be as affected as others. So keep that in mind, okay? All right, May, June, July. July, we have the Queen of Cups crossed by the Hanged Man. That Queen of Cups, I think of luxury with her. She is grounded emotionally. She's mature. She's level-headed. And she's facing backwards into June and May. So I think she's learned some things along the way, coming up into July. And she's learned by giving up things. Self-sacrifice with that Hanged Man present. So seeing that Queen of Cups and her wisdom in July is knowing what to give up and knowing how to strategize so that by giving up, you're actually gaining. So think of it in terms of that. If you're asked to give something up, see what you can gain from what you're giving up. August, we have the Two of Wands crossed by the Queen of Wands. So a different energy going into August. Now that July has given us a chance to mentally focus our energies and be emotionally grounded, now it's time to move back into the realm of action with those wands present. So we have the Two. That Two of Wands is a vision. I see it a lot of looking back into the past so that you know how to gauge where you want to go into the future. It's all about vision. There's a lot of letting go this year, letting go of the past and embracing what's ahead. And not just embracing, but forging a new path, creating what's ahead. And that Queen of Wands is the ability to take appropriate action when needed. And it's also very centered and grounded with that Queen. September should be a little nicer. We've got the Strength card, Courage, and the card of the Nine of Wands crossing it. So courage crossed by patience, by having to wait, waiting on the right timing, when to step forward. That's going to be a hallmark in September. We've come in from this place in August of getting ready to actually envision a new future, move out of kind of this past, seeing where we're heading, and feeling like there's a little bit of a stall, but yet there's strength with that Strength card moving forward on it. October, we have the Ace of Cups crossed by the Three of Pentacles. That Ace of Cups is a card of new beginnings in emotions and feelings and inner thoughts. That Ace of Cups is a card of love. And we have the Three of Pentacles. I call it the Builder's card. But it's a card of planning, strategizing. So there may be some newness coming through in October. Newness in terms of affection, love, and the ability to plan for a better outcome, okay? November should be feeling a little better. We've got the Three of Cups, and it's crossed by the Two of Pentacles. Now, what's interesting about this, I'm looking back through where do I see, before I move on too much further into the last few months of the year, where do we have the major arcanas? Well, we've got the majors on March, April. March and April are going to be really key, really key. There's a power struggle and a twist of events and a shift into a new direction coming. That's going to be a real focal point is March and April for this year. And then again in June we have that Hermit, that really introspection, really going within. And then September with the Strength card, heading into the future. So pretty bright actually. Then let's see, November is the Three of Cups, friendship, crossed by some decision making. We have the Two of Pentacles. So friendship, happiness, choices and decisions. Not terrible energies actually for November. And then we have the Queen of Swords on December, crossed by the Three of Swords. Now the Queen of Swords, she gets to the bottom of things. She sees the true picture and nothing gets past her. So she kind of knows what's going on. She's like the smart mom when the kids are misbehaving and mom's trying to figure out who did what and nobody's talking. This is the smart mom who knows who did it and knows what the right appropriate action is. She gets to the bottom of things and nothing gets past her. And she's crossed, though, by kind of a tough card with that Three of Swords. That could be a card of sadness, loss, or betrayal. But she's getting to the bottom of it. So these are the energies around this coming year. As I said, look for key months to be March, April, June, and September. as pivotal months of change, and where we can kind of see different outcomes. Again, it's going to be really volatile in the beginning of the year, and I think shifting into spring and summer, things will even out. I think it's going to be a little bit nicer, smoother in the summertime. At least I should say summertime for North America, where I'm at, into June, July, August. But just remember that surrounding this year is the Five of Wands, which is conflict and struggle. So remember that and see if you can change your way of handling struggle into a more positive way, so that you don't feel burdened or crushed, but you actually can use the struggle to grow spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and everything else. You can grow through it and not be crushed under it. Okay. It's all up to you how you decide you want to move through this year. It may seem like a tough year to some, others not so much. Okay. All right, that's what I have for 2022. These are the energies that I see coming into this year. I hope each of you have a great year. I hope it turns out to be one of those years that is a blessed year where we can move into a new, more full, expansive expression of who we are. Okay, thanks everybody. Take care, and we'll see you next time. This has been Intuitive Edge. Bye for now.